Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Greenleaf Season 5 discussion where we go through some theories, we talk about what could be coming up. We are both collectively very excited to actually get into the world of Greenleaf again. It's in a matter just of weeks now. It's the final season.
Yeah, it's the final season, but there is a spinoff that's going to be coming up. So we'll talk a little bit about that and maybe a couple of ideas of where they could go with that.
And we'll also talk a lot about sort of trying to understand the cliffhanger that we saw at the end of the finale involving this mystery man who shows up to Grace at the gravesite. Like, who is this? What role could they have? Before we dive in, though, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates.
So the cliffhanger from last season really left a lot on the table. We've seen that the church is basically gone now. We've seen Lady May has been asked to kind of run things, but then boom, no more. That's done. Charity's been dumped, and I don't think anybody feels bad about that after everything she's been doing to the family. Was kind of a comeuppance that I think everybody's been waiting for. We saw everything with what's going on with Jacob and his wife and how miserable that is. They're in a really bad place in their marriage.
Yeah.
And then we have this big cliffhanger at the end. We have Grace standing at Faith's grave. She sees a young man coming in the distance, and for a second, she thinks it's AJ. This man knows quite a bit. He tried to say, oh, I guess that Faith is your sister based on the dates on the grave. I don't believe him. I don't think any of us believe him. I don't even think Grace believes him. Then she kind of was like, oh, well, the road to get out of here is back over there. And he's like, all right, I'll see you around. Grace.
Yeah.
This guy knows who she is. And so going into the new season, that's going to be a really big sort of jumping off point, I think, because this is not the last we've seen of whoever this is.
No, this person, one way or another, they gotta be a significant force in the story. They have to come back because clearly they're back for a reason. The thing that I've been kind of hung up on to some extent is why show up now? And why show up at a time that seems to be kind of coincidentally tied to AJ sort of making the decisions that he is involving prison? And I just sort of wonder if this person is linked somehow to why AJ is going to prison. Is there something that someone has on him where he thinks it's actually safer for him to be behind bars, or is this something that AJ could have prevented if he wasn't behind bars, and now this person is sort of showing up? It just feels very coincidental, the timing, and I think the way they choose to introduce themselves and specifically drop Grace's name, it is a warning as much as anything else that they are going to be a part of this, and it's not exactly the friendliest of introductions, sort of talking about matters of life and death in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, Grace has said all through that finale, she was kind of like, there's something else going on with AJ, like nobody just gives themselves to going to prison. Like there's something else inside of him that he's either punishing himself for, or just something is going on. So there was a moment when Grace turned to this man coming down, out of the woods where she was like, AJ, sort of, is that you? And then he came closer and she's like, oh no. There was a moment that I kind of wondered, and this is that type of show that would have really big twists like this.
Yeah.
That maybe the AJ that Grace has thought was AJ is actually not him. And maybe he was a kid that sort of just fell into an opportunity or was rolling with the punches. And then as he was getting more involved in the family, that he was like, man, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. And this person who sort of came out was sort of talking about life and death and knew about faith and knows about Grace, knows Grace's name, that maybe this is actually AJ.
I think it's possible. I think with Greenleaf in particular, they do sort of love the idea of throwing these big family twists out there. I mean, just the idea of AJ sort of coming and being a part of the show in the first place kind of qualifies as one of these twists. The other thing that I really kind of think a lot about is, you know, this is a show about faith, and this is a show about sort of a lot of different biblical tropes, and you could sort of look at this AJ character, or if it is AJ, if it's not AJ, whoever it may be, as sort of a psychological, is he an angel on Grace's shoulder? Is he a devil on Grace's shoulder? Is he a conscience of her? Is he actually physically real? Because Grace is the only person who has seen him so far.
Yeah, and she was there praying, and some of the stuff that she was talking about in her prayer, where she was like, thank you for bringing me back here to the family, because this was something that I needed. For charity, for all her faults, thank you for bringing me back here for this. Faith's death brought me back to a place that I needed to be right now. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes out of the woods. That's not a coincidence either. Things do happen in this family that are very directly related to God. So is this someone who then is just coming in to kind of give a little bit of that clarity or that advice of sort of like, there's an end date to everything? And that's where I'm thinking about this spinoff and where that could actually be going when that happens. So one of the things that we have seen in this cliffhanger is that the church is basically folded. It's going to be 1 week and this church is going to be demolished. It is going to be no longer. So for the spinoff, there's a part of me that's wondering if it's going to just be about Grace, that this mega church is going to be kind of, taking over everything, and that she's going to move out of sort of that completely and into a smaller church, a much smaller church, to kind of give that back and forth to show us how a mega church would be fighting with a smaller church, or how a smaller church would deal with a mega church.
This is one of the most interesting things about Greenleaf at the moment, is the idea that there's going to be a spinoff, but I think so many of these characters, they're sort of so directly tied to each other that it's hard to really think about, okay, who could you sort of extract from this world and put them somewhere else where it doesn't just feel like you're watching another season of Greenleaf. And I sort of think about, okay, Jacob feels too close to a lot of other characters.
He's way too close to the family.
Yeah, for it to really work. You certainly aren't going to do a Bishop Greenleaf spinoff. You're like, there's a lot of characters that I think fundamentally it doesn't make a lot of sense to have them star in their own show. But because Grace has been gone from this world before, I could see her being away from the world again and maybe interacting with it in some way. And maybe she sort of takes what good lessons she can from the world of being around cavalry and a lot of these other people and trying to implement them into something that is sort of new, but you can't really just distance yourself from your past, your immediate past, or your long-term past completely. It's one scenario that makes sense. The only other one that really does to me is, are you going to just introduce a new character in the final season and then sort of launch off a spinoff based on them? But if they're doing that, we haven't heard anything about it yet.
The only other character that I could see them doing a spinoff with, but I don't know if it would fly, is with Charity, because she's in a spot right now where she's alienated herself from the family over and over and over again, and now she's really done it. Her vote helped make all of this sort of happen in the first place against her own family. Now she's by herself completely. I'm wondering if they could move into a rebuilding of this character away from the family. And it's all going to kind of depend on what happens in this final season with her, because if they can't find some sort of redemption arc for her, I don't know who would tune into that show.
Yeah, instead we're going to have the Judi spinoff, everyone. No, Judy's the worst. They're not having a spinoff for her. She sucks.
No, she's terrible.
But, I think we do. But I think the thing is, I think for season 5, whether it's Judi or another character like Judi, we need someone to just hate, because I think a big part of what makes Greenleaf fun is being able to metaphorically boo someone whenever they come on stage who we know is just like bad news for the rest of the family. We need a good big bad.
Yeah, we really do. And, it was Judi. And of
Yeah.
course, what's going on with, everything with Charity. It
Yeah.
hasn't been great. So it's going to be interesting to see where everyone lands, especially what's going on with Jacob. I mean, his wife has cheated on him. He cheated for years and years and years and did all these horrible things. Well, not years and years and years, but you know what I mean. He cheated for a really long time. And he didn't just cheat, he like emotionally was cheating as well, and she stood by all of that nonsense, and then she's had an indiscretion and he's throwing her out, and now she has this piece of paper that could ruin his whole family. So is he really gonna stay with her for that? Is that really how it's gonna go, or is that just gonna be leverage for a really messy divorce?
Man, Jacob's just in a bad way. He's just got a really tough situation, and I honestly, I would like to see this relationship just go away eventually. It's not good for either one of them, regardless of whatever their motives may be at any given moment. A lot of characters on Greenleaf have done less than great things throughout the run. I think we can agree on that, but I think a lot of them, redemption is a big part of faith and forgiveness. Yep. That I think there's a path forward for a lot of these characters, and regardless of if you're talking about Jacob or Grace or a lot of other people on the show, I do want there to be a happy ending. I think we live in an unhappy enough time that I think for some of these characters, I want to see some victories before things end.
Yeah, and I really want to see one for Jacob. Like, he did do some pretty crappy things, but it's been over the seasons now that we've seen him change, like really change. I feel that change in him, where he is trying to be a better man, a better husband, move forward, better in the church. Like, he's trying to make the right choices. He's had some more stumbles, but he really is trying to make the better choices.
The good news is we don't have to wait that much longer to get answers on some of this stuff. Hopefully they'll at least give us answers on the mystery arrival within the first episode or two of Greenleaf Season 5. But as we approach it now, let's hear from you guys. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think this mystery man is? Let us know your theories in the comments. And if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store. And we'll see you here next time.